go to the Logan fight?
I did.
I listened to KSI on your show. Thought he was great.
Great guy, so funny.
But as I was listening to that, I remember running into KSI. I know Logan. I known Logan for years. I like Logan. But I met KSI the summer before his first fight.
Right.
With Logan. And I met him in Dubai. We were both speaking at the same event. And I was, the guy's about my size. And I remember going up to him being like, dude, how are you going to do this Logan fight? Like, Logan's a fucking monster. Anybody who's ever met Logan, he is like an imposing physical human being.
Not someone that 99% of people would want to throw hands with.
No. And I just remember JJ looking at me and he's like, I can't lose. I can't, not as in like I'm unlosable. It was just like, I will not let myself lose. And this is the first time I ever met him in person. And like, he said it to me with this like penetrating like look. And I was like, wow, fuck, great. Hell yeah, let's do it. And then to see him this year with that fight, he was the better fighter.
Yeah.
He was the better fighter. I was sitting right there. He was unbelievable what he brought in that ring.
Yeah.
Like a kind of conviction that just blew my mind.
Does that excite you about YouTube?
I don't know. I appreciated the theater of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, look, both JJ and Logan are fantastic performers, and if they weren't, they wouldn't amass the audiences that they've amassed. And I think if they hadn't taken it serious, if they hadn't taken it seriously, it would not have worked. But because they both really approached that the way that a pro fighter would approach that, they showed that they had a respect for what was taking place. And that translated as a respect for the audience.
Yeah, because we've seen all kinds of stupid celebrity boxing type
bullshit,
things over the years.
Goofy things.
And it doesn't really do much to help those people's career. I think in this case they did. They took it so seriously that it ended up being a good look for YouTubers, for themselves, for boxing, etc. It was overall a good show.
I liked the sportsmanship of it, and no, I appreciated the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's scalable. Like, do we want to see YouTubers line up to fight? I think that
I kind of do. I'm gonna be honest with you. Yeah, but I want to see it go like the Fousey fight. You see that?
That was a disaster. No, look, I know Youssef, and he's not a bad guy. He's had a lot of problems.
No, I like him now. Yeah.
But it pained me to see him get the shit beat out of him.
Right.
Like that. I mean, I've been fighting my whole life. I'm a big fighter.
In the streets?
No, just train.
You haven't had a street fight in years. When was the last one? Let's hear that
really?
story.
I'll tell you that story. Although my wife, last time I told this, it was defending Candace. Last time I told this, Candace said that I now glorify it and it wasn't that dramatic. So I'll give it that caveat.
Okay.
But we're in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Candace and I were dating and we got into a big fight. On the street, we're having this argument. And this dude comes up and he's kind of a big dude. And like in New York City, like there's sort of a scam that people do where they like support my basketball team, buy some candy. And it's like a fucking 25-year-old guy.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? It's not a kid. And he comes up and I was like, nah, and we're in the middle of a fight. And I'm like, my girlfriend at the time, we're in the middle of an argument. And she's like, nah. And then he keeps pushing. I'm like, dude, can't you see we're having a conversation? Please give us some space. And he like wouldn't back off. And he does it again. I was like, back. And he's like, I'm talking to her, not you. And I mean, you don't need to know Candace to know that like, you don't fuck with her. She's like a vicious Jewish South African princess. Like you don't fuck with, she's vicious. And she's like all 103 pounds of her turned to this guy and she's like, I don't want your fucking candy. And he flipped out and he's saying things to her that like you just don't say to a woman.
Right. Yeah.
And like my values in life is like I'm against physical confrontation in every scenario but 3. When you have to defend yourself, like you don't take a beating, you fight back.
For me, it blacks out and it just happens.
You have to defend
There's
yourself.
no decision made
when,
there.
But in retrospect, or looking back at any physical altercation, if it falls in one of these 3 categories, it means it was unavoidable. Number 2 is if you have to protect somebody who can't protect themselves. You know what I mean?
Very true.
You see somebody small is getting bullied or beat up by someone bigger. You got to step in. You have to help that individual. And then the third one is I think that you have to sort of protect the honor of a woman.
Yeah.
You can't have a woman let things like that be said to a woman, especially someone you care about.
Yeah.
In any event, no. And then the guy and I, we just had hands right there on Broadway and Houston, right in the street. Yeah.
Broadway and House. I know exactly where that is. That's a great location.
Yeah,
for a fight.
I think someone may have yelled World Star.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
That meme has sort of gone away a little bit.
Am I dating myself?
No, but I mean, people might still do it, but I feel like they don't yell World Star like they used to. People don't seem as excited about watching fights on the internet as they used to be. Like the idea of just going to worldstar.com, worldstarhiphop.com to watch fights was a very. I don't know if that happens in such great detail these days.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah,
I think the glorification of street fighting is something that's not okay.
Yeah.
And I think that like if we can make a more gentle world, it's probably a better thing.
Definitely. No, yeah, but it's always a really good feeling when you get to fight someone and you feel like you're really justified in it because they really disrespected like somebody you love, and you know that like that's the kind of fight that you might see your father having. I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know that I ever saw my dad do it, but it's like you would expect your dad to fight in that situation.
I never saw my dad. My son, when he was little, like 5 or 6 years old, saw me get into a fight. Somebody robbed us, and I chased him down, and it got pretty physical.
Wow.
And and I think he always sort of looked up at me as like.
That's got to seem pretty cool to you as a young kid. Yeah, I remember.
I think. I hope that or it scared the shit out of him.
I was like 24, 25, and my dad, basically, like, I was at home in New Hampshire hanging out with my parents and stuff, and there was a guy that my sister had been dating, and they had stopped hanging out, and then he snuck into my fucking parents' house and stole $500 of my dad's wallet. So my dad wakes me up at like 5 a.m. I'm on hours sleep, and he hands me the keys to his truck, and he's basically just like, "You got to go take care of this." And this is the only time in my life that my dad ever instructed me to commit a violent act. But I'm driving around looking for the kid all day, and then my sister, I got her doing like intelligence research for me, so she's texting the dude and people that know him and stuff, trying to figure out where he's at. I figured out that he was at this girl's house, so I go there and I just ring the doorbell, and I'm like, "Is this kid here?" And the girl's like, "Yeah, like, do you want to come in?" I'm like, no, you can send him outside. And he walks outside. I'm like, "Where's the money?" And he wouldn't give it to me. So I just beat the dog shit out of him and broke my fucking hand on his face. And then I found the $500 in his wallet.
How long ago was this?
That was probably 10 years ago.
You know, it's like, I went to high school in the 90s, and like fighting was definitely part of the culture then.
Yeah, and it's so not
it's
like
so,
that
but
now.
I think that's a good, like, that's such a positive thing.
Yeah.
Like, to me, when I was in high school, fighting was like part of the day-to-day.
Yeah.
Like the school had a policy. It was like not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like fights took place in the back parking lot after school. Like there was like a whole thing.
Wow.
There's a whole system to it.
So the teachers were kind of cool with it?
They were not cool with it.
But it was allowed to take place?
You get in a fight now in high school, and rightly so. Police get involved.
Yeah.
It's a huge matter, and that's what it should be.
Again, society has advanced. It has
evolved.
progressed. We don't give ourselves a lot of credit for the good things that are taking place.
And this is a good thing. But when I was in high school in the 90s, it was much more like separate the kids. They hear you out. One person usually gets a suspension, whoever the instigator was. The other person gets a detention for engaging. And then that's it. And the school talks about it for like 4 days.
Yeah.
Did you hear these guys get in a fight? And that was sort of it.
I always think about this time that this kid with Down syndrome jumped on my back in the hallway and just beat on me like he was trying to kill me. And then his aide ran up and just like separated us and was just like, "Are you okay?" And I was just like, "Yeah." And then they just left.
And that was it. Like, you can't fault the kid, you know?
I'm like, what would have happened to that kid now?
He's probably just excited to see you.
I don't know what the fuck it was. He jumped on me like a crazed gorilla and just was pounding on me.
I hope you didn't hit back.
No, I curled up into a
right
ball.
thing,
I was 12. Hey, let me ask you this.
Go.
Oh, actually, no. I want to confess this.
Okay.
I got into watching YouTubers as kind of like a hate watcher. There was a couple of things that I felt like I got hooked on a lot of people's content. Fusi, I really was not confident in his mental health. I really felt like, he was losing it in his videos, and I wanted to watch that take place. And then I was a beam doubter. I'm going to admit that now.
A beam.
I just didn't think holding the camera to the chest was really going to work out.
Yeah, you were right.
I'm sorry.
You were right. We didn't succeed. Like, you don't be sorry.
But that's what got me into watching it. Was that like I really wanted to see how the beam thing was going to play out.
I think that's why a lot of people watched it.
You think? Okay.
My motivation for starting the daily vlog was that I was trying to build this company, and I knew I needed a way to share it, but I was losing my social influence. Not that I had much then, but I was losing that influence. So I was only focused on running this company. So I was like, that's when I made the decision to sort of start a daily vlog, and my intention was to have it really be about the company and how you build a company and the growth of it. But it turns out that 4 dudes that are computer programmers sitting in a room with their heads down writing code is really uninteresting content.
Right.
And that's how the vlog manifested into so many different areas of my life and my interests and things like that. But it was like the motivation to start that was to have a mouthpiece for what I was trying to build.
Yeah.
And I think that like that part worked. That part worked despite my company not, like the product not being that good. Like the tech company, the product we built, just like it was nowhere near as good as Snapchat Stories.
Right.
Snapchat Stories was just way fucking better.
It's a tough thing to compete with.
Yeah. And that's what we're going up against. But I think to be able to like share the entire spectrum of the growth and then like the turns and the struggles and then ultimately like the selling of that company, then ultimately like me leaving that company.
Yeah.
That arc was like a really interesting time in my life. And the fact that part of my life was shared with so many people, I think is how a lot of people who know me or knew me, that's how they'll always know me.
Was there a time where you stopped focusing as much on the company and you were just sort of chasing the views and chasing the fame, and that you were, because all of a sudden it becomes that your YouTube stardom is a far more prominent and profitable business than the company that you're trying to start, right?
Yeah, I mean, so it's yes and no. Like, yes, there was a time when I became way more focused on YouTube than I was focused on my own company, but it wasn't because I was, chasing that view juice or I wanted more fame or money or any of that. It was like, I think it came from real insecurity. Oh. Like my co-founder was this like wildly intelligent, super competent guy. And I got all the attention because I'm the YouTube guy and I'm out there, and he's not. He's like a quiet, heads down, let's get it done type of guy. But as we started to grow and as we started to have a big team, like I didn't know what my role was.
Right.
I don't know how to manage computer programmers. These kids are all smarter than me.
Yeah.
They all know what they're doing. I've never written a fucking line of code in my life.
Right.
And my co-founder, my partner, was like the guy who built Tumblr.
Yeah.
And so I felt small because of that. And that's when I was like, maybe the best thing I can do for this company is just to put my head down and focus on YouTube.
Right.
And that's what I did. And that's kind of how I rationalized it, was just that like the best thing I can do is stay out of their way. And I think that sounds like a noble thing, but the reality of it was I was just really insecure. I felt like I was like taking up space rather than really contributing to the effectiveness and the productivity of my own company.
NoJumper.com. Like, comment, subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want one of these, you know where to go. And then No Jumper Facebook too. Link is down in the description. Some good stuff going on over there. Appreciate y'all watching this.